and just pleased to be a small part of that team. The 2005 Atlantic hurricane season was indeed one for the record books. And most people here today in this audience, I suspect you're nearly all thinking that the deaths and damages that we had last year could never be worse than what we just encountered. And today I'm here to try to convince you otherwise. If you look at all the tracks there on the track map for last year, you'll see the record-breaking number of storms and hurricanes. You'll see all those lines near or over land. It's very tempting when you look at that map to focus on the numbers of storms and hurricanes. And I would just like to please remind you that it's not all about numbers. It just takes up one hurricane over your community to make for a bad year. So as we go through the presentation today, just please try to think what would happen to your community if that particular hurricane were hitting you. Having sand hauled in to put in front of his home after Hurricane Ivan, and church coming up here, everything that you see there in green and yellow and red is about 15 feet or higher. And the highest storm surges were over here on the Mississippi coast, to the right of the track. Sun Valley is up around 28 to 29 feet up here, up the rivers in the northern part of Bay St. Louis. It's really difficult to get some people to understand that that water is going to push into the bays and well up the rivers, sometimes quite far inland. If you can also see, this slowly moving northward at 50 miles per hour. And this is just a no-brainer here. I don't want anybody to think that we could forecast a hurricane to go right up, that one line right there. It could very easily have been, 20, 30 miles east or west of that. Interesting, I had given that briefing, and my job is to give that meteorological overview in about 5 or 10 minutes and then get out of the way and let the emergency managers talk. On those HLC briefings, we're talking to FEMA headquarters, the regional FEMA offices, and the state EOCs in the case of Katrina, Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Florida, and Georgia were all on that call. After I gave the briefing, Mike Brown said, "Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to take you to Crawford, Texas and introduce the president." I didn't even know that the president was on there, but the media has really made a big deal out of that, and for the life of me, there's no big news here. I mean, I'm briefing off the most recent forecast. Most of the time, I'm reading off right off the public advisory. So the folks that were listening in on that, they do the same thing that you all do and that my children were reading at home. No, there's no secret forecast. The president didn't know anything secret that was not made available to everybody else. I said that was released from the airplane, dropping all the way down to the surface. We could not get the wind up to Category 4. We have the step frequency microwave radiometer. That's a mouthful for an instrument that gives the surface winds on the NOAA plane. We couldn't get Category 4 winds there. This is a radar composite from the tail radar on the P3, and it was a pass from the southwest to the northeast of the hurricane. This is the afternoon before landfall. This is the eye wall. You can see on either side. The red color there represents the really strong winds in Katrina. And those really strong winds went all the way down or very near the surface. The next day, this bottom picture shows what that Delta radar data looked like at the time of landfall. The plane is going back and forth in that quadrant, and all that red has just totally disappeared. That inner core of Katrina just disintegrated, and we had a really unusual, broad, elongated, and elevated wind maxima in Katrina there. So we still had very strong winds aloft here, but they did not get down to the surface. You can't really fly the P3. Well, you can. We did it at Isabel at low levels, but that's not a healthy thing for the airplane. It costs a lot of money to hot wash that plane and the engines. So we really can't afford to have the airplane go down at low levels. So these little aerosols can do that, and can provide some very useful information. Thank you all. Thank you so much. Thank you, Craig.
for the overly generous introduction. Max, it's great to be with you with a coat and tie on. We appreciate your servant's heart. It's not an easy job to do the job you do. And Craig and all the people here, I can tell you, this is my last hurricane conference, so hopefully I've had my last hurricanes as governor as well, God willing. But and when you run for office, you don't have a 5-point plan on how to deal with hurricanes, at least not until now. And so I didn't realize how good this emergency response team is in our state until I got to work with you all. I can tell you you're the best in the country, and I'm really proud to be your governor. The work that you do, technology, my two favorite acronyms in state government, LIDAR and SLOSH studies will be advanced so that we can we're in a good place right now as it relates to how we evacuate, but I think we need to get a lot better from the lessons learned of the last 2 years. The more accurate the evacuation plans, the safer our citizens will be. My biggest fear is that we have a mentality of evacuation and we all evacuate all at once and there's no place to go and we're stuck on Interstate 75 or I-4 or I-95. This state has changed dramatically in terms of the density of our population. And so it's important for us to narrowcast, if you will, just as it's been done in Broward County and other places, to make sure that we target our efforts as it relates to evacuation based on good, solid science and strategies to deal with this. And I hope that the word gets back to Washington that this is an important thing for the Army Corps to fix as soon as possible. Florida has requested $4.6 million in funding from the Department of Homeland Security to update the maps and modeling and to develop an evacuation and sheltering plan for the communities around Lake Okeechobee. We will have our first plan ready by June 1st, but on an ongoing basis, should this money become available, we will develop a very sophisticated plan to deal with this wonderful part of our state. For the first time, Florida will provide $45 million to harden and build county emergency operations centers in the state of Florida, especially those in the areas most vulnerable. The lessons learned here are as the governor travels around the state after a hurricane and goes to places like Monroe County, where the county operations center is in the county commission chambers, not suitable for a direct hit by a storm. It's clear that we need to harden that facility and many others in our state, and for the first time, state monies are going to go into that at a record level. Storm shutters, flashlights, and we're investing millions of dollars in advertising and encouraging the private sector to do the same, and my expectation is that they will. So starting, Max, on May 21st, what's it called, Hurricane Preparedness Awareness Week. We will have our tax-free holiday, and I hope it becomes a model for the rest of the country, at least in the Gulf Coast and areas where we all need to prepare. To help Floridians protect their homes, the state is doing something historic, in my opinion, and something that I hope the next governor advances and that this becomes a recurring commitment by our state. And that is, the state is going to invest $250 million to make homes more resistant to damage caused by hurricanes, the first program of its kind in the country. And by the way, I think we have the strongest building code in the country, which is a good thing. We had one little, and I hope that you'll train the next governor and the Florida legislature to continue to be partners in this effort, to encourage you, to support you, to be part of the team to make sure that Florida is better prepared. This is the best state of all the 50 states, and I've been proud to serve with you. In fact, it has been an incredible privilege. God bless you all.